All right, let's dive into one of the most incredible periods in all of history, the Golden Age of King Solomon. We're going to explore the rise of this legendary kingdom centered around the building of its magnificent temple, the divine promise that shaped its destiny, and a level of power and splendor that was truly off the charts. So here's our game plan. We're going to walk through 5 key chapters of this story. We'll start with the very first stone laid for the house of God, and we'll end up at the absolute peak of Solomon's dazzling kingdom. And our story kicks off with the foundation of a building that has echoed through the ages, the Temple of the Lord. This wasn't just some grand construction project. This was the fulfillment of a promise made to Solomon's father, King David. Now, here's something that is just fascinating about how this was built. The stones were all prepared at the quarry before they were brought to the site. That meant that right there on the holy ground itself, you never heard the sound of a hammer or an axe or any kind of iron tool. The whole thing rose up in this profound, reverent silence. It was a way to honor the sacredness of the space. And a project of this scale, well, it took time. We're talking 7 years of non-stop, meticulous work to raise this house for God. It was a true testament to the kingdom's incredible focus and devotion. And believe me, no expense was spared. The inside was an absolute masterpiece. The walls were lined with this fragrant cedar, carved with these beautiful symbols like cherubim and palm trees. But the most stunning part? The entire interior, and I mean floor to ceiling, was overlaid with pure gold. Can you even imagine walking into a space like that? Just breathtaking.
But all that gold, all that craftsmanship, it was secondary to the real purpose. God sends a message to Solomon right in the middle of construction, saying, hey, this temple is about my presence. I will dwell here with you. But, and this is a big but, it all comes with a condition. You have to walk in my ways. The blessing is tied directly to obedience.
Okay, so the temple structure is finished. What's next? Well, now it's time to furnish this incredible secret space. And at the same time, Solomon keeps the construction boom going by focusing on his own royal palace. And this really puts the sheer scale of Solomon's ambition into perspective. While the temple took 7 years, he spent almost double that, 13 years, building his own palace. You can really see the center of power in Jerusalem taking shape. So for a project this important, who do you call? Solomon brings in a master craftsman named Hiram, a guy famous for his incredible skill with bronze. And the stuff he creates is just legendary. He forges these 2 gigantic bronze pillars, Jachin and Boaz. And then there's this massive bronze basin for the priests, so huge they called it the Molten Sea. And it rested on the backs of 12 bronze oxen. Just incredible works of art. All right, the building is done. The sacred objects are all in place. And now, the moment of truth arrives. Solomon gathers all the leaders of Israel for the great dedication, the moment the temple officially becomes the house of the Lord. The ceremony itself is just filled with a solemn grandeur, and at its very heart is Israel's most sacred object, the Ark of the Covenant. The priests carry it into the inner sanctuary, the most holy place, and they set it right under the wings of the golden cherubim. And inside, the 2 stone tablets of the law that God gave to Moses. And then, it happens, the divine response. As the priests leave the inner sanctuary, a thick cloud, the visible glory of God, fills the entire temple. And this presence is so powerful, so overwhelming, that the priests can't even stay inside to do their duties. God has officially moved in. Seeing this, Solomon offers up one of the most powerful prayers in the entire Bible. He shows this profound humility, right? He basically asks, how can the creator of the entire universe, who the heavens can't even contain, live in a house that I built? And yet he asks that God would always hear the prayers of his people when they're directed toward this place. The whole thing wraps up with this massive, nationwide celebration. Over a 2-week feast, they offer sacrifices on a scale that's just hard to wrap your head around. 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. This was an event for the entire nation. So, after the parties are over and the crowds have gone home, God appears to Solomon again. But this time, it's not a big public display of glory. It's a direct, one-on-one message that carries some serious weight for the future of the kingdom. God starts by saying, yep, I heard your prayer. And he declares that he has consecrated this temple, that he set it apart. He promises that his eyes and his heart shall be there perpetually. So the promise is back on the table, but this time with a really clear condition attached. And honestly, this is the whole point of the story. The covenant is a two-way street. If Solomon and his descendants are faithful, his family will rule forever. But if they turn away and worship other gods, the consequences are severe. God says he'll cut Israel off from the land, and he'll cast this magnificent temple out of his sight, leaving it in ruins as a warning to everyone. The stakes could not be higher. And for a good, long while, the blessings from that covenant just flow like a river. This final part of our story shows us a kingdom whose wealth and wisdom became the stuff of legend across the entire ancient world. Solomon's fame spreads so far and wide that it reaches the kingdom of Sheba, and its queen is so intrigued that she travels a huge distance with this massive caravan, not to sign a treaty, but just to see for herself if the rumors about Solomon's incredible wisdom could possibly be true. And she is absolutely blown away. Solomon answers all of her riddles. He shows her how his kingdom operates. And her verdict is just stunning. She admits that the reality was so much bigger than the wild rumors she'd heard. She literally says, "The half was not told me." The kingdom's wealth was just staggering. His annual income in gold alone was 666 talents. To put that in perspective, that's about 25 tons of gold. We're talking well over $1 billion in today's money, and that didn't even count the income from trade. It's an almost unimaginable level of wealth. The prosperity was so overwhelming, it actually changed the economy. Silver, which was a precious metal everywhere else in the world, was so plentiful in Jerusalem during Solomon's reign that the Bible says it was basically as common as stones. Just think about that for a second. And that brings us to our final thought. This whole epic story, from the silent construction of a holy temple to a kingdom so rich that silver was like stone, it's all framed by that crucial two-sided covenant. The climb to glory was built on a promise, which leaves us with a question that echoes from Solomon's time right down to our own. When any nation, or any one of us, is blessed with that kind of abundance, what is the greatest responsibility that comes along with it?